have like a genuine question, Ginger. So like if like why do you say that it's like not good to like kind of try to rewrite a cliche if you're not confident in doing that? Like why?
Well, the problem is like you might see a problem in something and want to fix it. You could try it, sure, try it. But if you're presenting that you're going to fix this, a lot of people will be very critical about like what you actually put out, and that if there is a mistake in your message or a mistake in how you write it, it might like get a lot of bad reception. I guess it's just about framing. Don't frame it as if you've come and um redone this whole trope and make it good, or to make it good, and don't frame it as something like, oh, this is the better way. Have fun with rewriting it, but if you're not confident, there are like a lot of other directions you can go with your plot or writing. But if you want to do it, do it. I mean, why not, right?
Yeah, I agree with what Ginger said because like a lot of the topics or cliches that you might want to like try to rewrite can be like pretty like controversial and contentious, but I would say to be a good writer or to like kind of like really put your foot like take a step out like into like the writing community, you need to be ambitious and you can't be so afraid to do everything. Like personally when I started writing, I didn't look up any writing videos. I just went for it. Like I didn't like listen to podcasts like what you're doing, which is good. But like a lot of what writing is about is just doing it and then learning from that. Like over time and practicing, consuming more media, you will figure it out. Um in the end, because like I personally myself have not really like taken any writing classes or like done much in my outside time to like really understand how to write certain things. I just have my English class, but since I consume so much and like I just go for it, I just keep writing and writing, I've really grown. So I would say like part of it is just being ambitious. Just try to avoid the very controversial topics though. I've experienced harsh criticism from the Ginger herself. I actually didn't see it until like a year like after. But like oh, man, that critique it was so nice. I loved it. Yeah. I agree with
Thank
all the
you.
points you made on it. Anyways, learning to accept the fact that people will pick on the things you do no matter what, and like you'll get harsh feedback a lot of times is like super interesting because do you have you watched Hamilton, Ginger, or like heard?
I've not watched it, but I do like a lot of the songs.
Oh, have you like listened to the whole soundtrack? Like
No, not yet.
dang. Okay. Anyways, but it's really interesting because the two main characters in the story, which is like Hamilton and then Aaron Burr. Hamilton is this ambition-driven man who is really like centered around his ideals, where Aaron is more of like a man who is kind of swayed by the public's opinion in order to he like changes his ideals in order to benefit him, and he's like the type of person who isn't as ambitious. He waits for his moment to pounce. He's analytical. He's like he cares about what people think about him and he wants to hold his public image to the best like regard. And in this sense, it's really interesting because both ways kind of work.
I get what you mean. I know those. I'm pretty sure I'm familiar with the those personalities that they have.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it comes out the most in Wait for It, the
Yeah.
room where it happens, and like Nonstop. Pretty
Oh my
sure,
god.
songs, and like it could work in both ways. I'm probably more of the ambitious type,
Same,
but I feel like
same.
all
Mm-hmm.
of us have like
Both.
a part of both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a part of both, where we want to be liked and where we want to be ambitious, and just perfectionism, because I'm very perfectionist. I
Same.
have 2 years not started anything. So, I mean, we want it to be liked, but we have to accept that it won't be, and we have to accept that like we might have success in taking these risks, but we might not. And if we don't, then don't let that like stop you. Just like learn what went wrong, and don't be so if you're so focused on what other people think, you're never going to know what you want. You're never gonna know what like kind of community or audience is the best for
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Ginger.
you can't please everyone.
Yeah, you sound like Hamilton, but that's why I like Hamilton so much, because he literally, I can relate to him a lot. Like, you gotta do it. Like, you gotta just go for it, because if you don't go for it, like, how are you gonna do anything?
Exactly,
You
because
only
like
live once.
I said this in like my series like Trinket Thieves Insider article. It's a whole thing where it's like just some random some secret person making articles about the happenings kind of. I said something about like how not having a belief is for like cowards, and like someone who sits on the fence will be forgotten. It's better to like lose something for a cause than to die without having one at all. So
Mm,
yeah.
so true. So true. Okay, so there's another criticism on another story. So the name is With Every Raindrop. Ooh, I like that name. There's two main characters, with both having their point of view in each chapter. The story is about a girl and a boy. They just had a breakup, and because the girl had to leave. But each memory, they suddenly realize their feelings. Okay, the girl was in college and the boy was on the plane. With every raindrop, they get a memory of their regrets. And by the end of the story, the boy realizes his feelings, and the boy plants many roses and waits. But when the girl arrives at that place, she only sees a sea of stars above a field of dead roses, indicating that he's moved on. That's when she realizes her feelings. She cries and the story cuts there. Oh, cute, 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 cute. I like this. This, like, the general concept of this story is captivating. It's pretty original. I like how you're focusing more on tragedy rather than, I don't know, anything else. I feel like there's not a lot of, like, tragic stories out there. At least the
It's
things
like
that
a
I can.
reverse love story. It starts
I
from
like
the
it.
end and
Yeah.
goes like back to the
I
beginning.
think that, like, that stylistic choice, or not the structural choice of your plot is already original in itself. And, like, the fact that it's like it works around this, like, symbol of a raindrop is really, like, it's powerful. I think it's a good concept.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's potential. Although I do have a question. What does it mean with every raindrop? Because like if it's like a shower, that's like a lot of raindrops. So I don't know how many memories
Ooh.
they have
Oh,
with each other,
I
but
got it.
it's like
Yeah, I agree with Ginger said. It's like, you're gonna have to elaborate on that, but, like, if the raindrop itself or a drop of water, something like with water, indicates like a flashback to a memory or multiple memories that they had that really integrate water, that would be interesting. Like, for example, like, oh, I don't know, the girl is like looking out the window and wait, no, the girl is like watering her plants, and then she's watering her roses, and, like, you see like a drop of that water kind of like come off the petal of the rose, and then it, like, triggers this memory of them playing by the beach in the water. That would be like a good way to
ooh.
connect it. Somehow it has to
Yeah,
really affect their lives for it to be a good symbol.
yeah. How about this actually? Instead of it being like raindrops, because like what I'm seeing here is like the girl was in college and the boy was on the plane. So on the plane, I think that like what do you like? It suggests that this whole remembering thing happens in one occurrence. But what if you did it like many occurrences, like through their daily lives? Like all that water thing Zoe was talking about, like you could integrate that and it just keeps flashing back to them and upping in intensity as time goes on. And so it would make more sense that their feelings doesn't don't change in just like one sitting. It happens throughout like the course of a couple days, maybe a week. It would make more sense, and there would be many opportunities to incorporate that water idea into like their daily actions. Like, oh yeah, watering the plants. Oh, a drop of water. Oh, I remember this memory. Drinking water and it like drips on the floor. Oh, there's another memory there. Oh, there's like a dripping sign and then it falls on the floor. Oh, that's where we had our first date. Something like that. It's like
Yeah. I just like that story. Like, I think that would be, like, has really good potential. Like, I don't know, like, Ginger, what are, like, your favorite types of stories? Like, be more specific. Don't just
honestly,
be like a genre. Like, I just, like, I'm interested.
favorite types of stories. Um, well, what are yours first? Let me have an
Okay.
idea of like
Okay.
how specific
So
I need to be.
I like the stories where it's tragic. Like, cause, like, I like fluffy ones, like really cute ones, but the ones where it's like tragic, not in a way that, like, I'm bawling my eyes out, but like a slow burn, is really captivating. I don't see many stories like that. Like, it's like a love story almost between like two characters, but it's so, like, you want them to get closer but they aren't, and it's like they're so close but they aren't, and like it drags it out in a really complex and interesting way, and like there's like a really complex reason as to why they can never be together.
Yeah, it does sound like that. It sounds like a very mentally, emotionally draining but exciting experience, kind of,
Yeah.
to see that. Personally, I haven't thought about this question a lot because I consume so many different types of media.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like it when there's a problem being solved or like a
Mm.
mystery being solved, and then two people work together to solve it, or like get like, and then while they're solving it, they get into like problems, or like they get separated, or like just a
Mm.
lot of obstacles in which like they're growing, but then this problem turns out to be like a big mind fuck, and it's like, oh
Ooh.
no, what now?
Oh
Kind of situation.
my god. Have you watched Interstellar?
No, I
Oh,
don't
wait,
remember.
search it up right now. Okay. Jeez, that is the best mind fuck ever. Like, it's so interesting. It's really slow in the beginning. Like, I hated it in the beginning, like the first 30 minutes, but it was
Hmm.
so good at the end. Like,
I haven't watched it actually, but I've
you
heard
need
about
you need
it.
to watch it. Just don't like just be aware that it's so boring. But it was like a big like mind fuck at the end.
Mm.
Anyways, so yeah, I agree with Ginger. That's a cool plot. I do like that.
I have like in my story, there's always like they're always trying to solve something together. It's kind of intense. It's like the kingdom is gonna fall if we don't do this. But then like there are still some like kind of fluffy moments in there where they're like, okay,
Mm,
bonding.
yeah, I love
Okay, we're
doing that.
spending time.
I love those type
Yeah.
like if we're talking about fantasy type stories like and fantasy action, I really like it when fantasy action incorporates comedy or like some like taking a break from the intensity and just like chilling and appreciating these cute little moments. Personally, that's why I don't really like Attack on Titan that much. I feel like there isn't that much in it. It's basically like a really intense plot. There's a ton of plot twists. It's great world building, but like there's barely any of those fluffy moments that I just can't really feel connected to the characters in that sense, you know? Ooh, another question. Any advice of writing humor? I'm still learning how to write humor and ooh. Okay. Um First off, humor is subjective again. Um but I base a lot of my humorous dialogues on the things that I consume again, like based off of like my observations and also like in real life events that have happened to me. If you're like targeting this humor towards like what audience you're targeting this humor towards is pretty important. If you're targeting it towards like a bunch of teenagers, you probably don't want to do like pretty like adulty kind of vibe things. And I don't really know. Like is there do you have any advice about like writing humor specifically?
Writing humor, it's like okay, a lot of it like you gotta lay down your basis first, like the foundation of like how you're gonna do this kind of okay, stick with me. So a lot of people like there are your character dynamics, and then they're just individual characters, and then they could have this kind of thing that's like their personality that we eventually like make fun of them for a little bit, just like a little bit, like some kind of quirks to them that like we take it seriously, but sometimes we could kind of clown on it. The characters kind of clown on them, like, oh, you're always like this guy could always be holding documents, and then someone could make a joke about it later on. So sometimes like making jokes about a character's habits could be a way to like put some comedy in there. Another thing is character dynamics, where it's like situational comedy, where it's like an example could be, oh, you're never gonna do this, and then later on they're like, well, I guess I'm here doing it. A
Oh,
lot
the
of times
immediate
jokes,
change. That's funny.
yeah, jokes would be like connected to their personalities.
Mm.
So if you have like characters with a lot of personalities, and then like some switch ups later on of like happenings, then a lot of comedy can be like gotten from that. But
Mm.
honestly, humor, it depends on you,
Yeah.
really. Like some people are naturally funny and good at entertaining.
Yeah.
So like don't force
Mm.
it. If you can, add it in, but if you can't, just make a good story. It's okay.
Definitely. Yeah. I write like based off of like my stories, it's a lot off of like how I act around people and especially like the humorous scenes. That's why some of like the
Yeah.
scenes are kind of like sixth grader, like not like humor, and that's just me. Sorry, not sorry. I do think that if you yourself are a pretty funny person and like your like peers would say you're funny, then just trust yourself when you're writing it. Like my friends will characterize me as like a pretty funny and entertaining person who's like pretty express like who expresses like a lot in like a funny way. So I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll just go with that. But if you're not a really funny person, I would just recommend like being like, oh, who is your viewer? Like who are your viewers? Like if they're like teenagers, then I'm gonna search up some like movies that teenagers like, and then I'm gonna base my humorous scenes off of those humorous dialogues from those movies. And I also think that this is a pretty like this is like a I don't know, this might be a bit of a stretch, but I feel like humor is oftentimes or like a funny moment is like out of context in a sense. Like it's like you don't expect that and
Mhm.
it's so out of context that it's
Yeah.
funny. Like it could be a serious moment
Random humor.
and then it's like suddenly like some character makes like a joke or like that like breaks that serious like glass like a
Although I do have a thing about that.
mm,
Um, a lot of people will be like paying attention to your comedic timing. If it doesn't feel right to put a joke in there, do not put a joke in there.
oh yeah.
Keep it like at the tone that you're going with. If you're building momentum, you have to keep it like that and don't insert a joke for joke's sake. Also in just like comedy wise, there are people that even if you're not like funny, entertaining type, people have a lot of different ways to be funny. There's wordplay, there's expressions, yeah.
Mm.
There is sarcasm. You can just
Mm-hmm.
keep it like
I love
to what you're
sarcasm.
comfortable with. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a really
So
good point
like
to make.
yeah, many types of comedy.
Definitely.
And yeah, honestly, I mean, you can look up jokes for like teenagers and stuff, like what you said, but you can also just like see what your characters are like and see what types of jokes those kinds of people would make. And then,
Mm-hmm.
look up like types of comedy, edgy,
Ooh.
um, depressing, I don't know. And then I guess
Yeah.
do some kind of jokes there.
Oh yeah, like certain characters themselves, like their personality itself could be like a comedic play. For example, like you could
Mm-hmm.
have like a character who is like an oaf and like they're stupid and like it's shown through their dialogue and they always like say kind of like stupid things. And that itself, like their character itself could be like a comedic aspect.
You can do something with that too, where it's like, oh, they're insecure about always saying stupid stuff and like being looked at as like the stupid one, and now boom, that's your internal conflict. They have they have some problem inside themselves where it's like, oh well, I kind of sympathize with this character because it's like, oh well, no one wants to feel stupid all the time.
But like I also think that like it depends on what type of story you're writing. If you're writing like a solely comedic like story, then it is completely fine to have like comedic scenes like in the middle of a climax. Like if you see Spy X Family, it makes like there's like Spy X Family. It's an anime and like its sole purpose is to be like lighthearted and comedic. There is a plot and it's like an action kind of mystery plot, but like it's just so comedic that like there is no break in sort of like humorous content. So if you're targeting towards like a story like that, then it's fine to do that. But like if you want to balance like what me and Ginger are doing for our stories in where we have like a fantastical action kind of story and have a few elements of humor in it, then yeah, do what Ginger said.
Yeah.
How can you make the story more engaging and stay on track? I've struggled with these many times despite it being basic. I would just say make an outline. In order to kind of sustain consistency throughout your writing and staying focused or on track, like as you said, it would be good to have an outline. So you can like refer to the outline whenever you want to add a hook. For example, you're like, oh cool, maybe in this scene I can like make the character look really like scared and not explain why. And then you look back at your outline if it's hard for you and be like, wait, does that relate to the main plot at all? Am I just adding it on to be like a filler, like just to like create more suspense, or like is it really integral to the plot or the character or something like that? Like connect it back. And if you right, like you just want like an outline to like refer back to if it's hard for you.
Yeah. So you can have an outline, and like if you want to stay on track with the plot that you're doing and all the questions, you should probably write down like a lot of the questions or like the problems that you open up, and also write down their answers. And now we're going to separate these things. It's like cause and effect. You will put like you'll ask a question, and then you leave that, and then you answer a question like at another part, but then you ask another question and you answer the question. Make sure that your cause and effect has consistency between like the events that are going on, because there are definitely going to be multiple questions at the same time, not enough answers, or like confusing answers. You want to keep the momentum on like a straight line that has branches does not, okay, I don't know if that makes sense, but like there are there is your straight line, but there are also like the things beside it that's like helping it or like pushing it forward. And when you get too far from a certain question that it's like, are we missing something? That's when you have to answer it, basically. When
Mm-hmm.
it's like
Mm.
too vague now, where we
No.
don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bad sign when you don't know what's going on.
Mm.
So as long as everything makes sense. As
That
long
is
as
so true.
everything makes sense.
As long as you
Yeah.
have like the main plot making sense, or like the viewers have an idea on what is going on, you can continue adding like unanswered questions, like foreshadowing. Like, okay, that was something I really struggled on for my series. How to incorporate everything in one episode, yet not being it making it too complex, and establishing like a basic premise on where it's going, and making it hooking, but like again making sure the viewers understand that it something is like what is happening. And I understand that's a really hard thing to do. It is really hard.
Mhm.
But again, I would just like have people review your story, because you yourself don't understand, like you yourself won't ever know if it truly is something that people can
Confusing.
comprehend. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if it's confusing or not. So you just want to get people to read it and then fix it.
Yeah, beta readers are like people who check your story before you publish it.
Mm-hmm.
Really important. Like you can't just keep it all to yourself. You need a second opinion, even if you don't want to spoil it or like
Mm-hmm.
ruin the experience. You need a second opinion. That's why people have editors. That's why people have proofreaders. You really need that.
Mm-hmm. What's your opinion of when a story is too much? Like sometimes I just want to add a bunch of stuff in, a bunch of characters to affect the plot, but I don't want it to become too overwhelming for a viewer. Stay on
Oh, that's so
track.
relatable.
That is so true.
It's so
Yeah, no, that
relatable.
is literally, you just described what is like my internal conflict over my series. Again,
Yeah.
get people to read it. Get like Ginger. Well, no, don't get Ginger.
Look
Ginger's
at
crazy.
me
Ginger's
specifically.
get,
Yeah.
get other people. As I have Ginger, you'll find that Ginger in your life. Love you.
Yes.
Anyway, I would say, again, it depends on the length of your story, but usually like for like a part of a story, I would say that one main character and like two side characters that like you actually focus on their backstory, like I think is good. Like I wouldn't, that's for me at least. I wouldn't, cuz like for me I like to, like if I'm going to like delve into a character, I like to explain like what is going on and like show the complexity,
Mm-hmm.
and in that sense it's more focused, but it's all subjective. I would just say like get other people to read it. So.
Yeah, yeah. Many opinions. You don't have to take all of them, but like take it into account at least, especially if it doesn't make sense. Especially if it doesn't make sense or they're not
Yep.
connecting. Those are the main things.
Absolutely.
Um, I would say if you have so much in mind, but you don't want it to be overwhelming. Okay, think first. Like, how long is this gonna be? Is there enough time for everything?
Oh
If the
boy.
answer is no, you are I'm sorry, you have to cut some things, maybe even a whole
Mhm.
character if they're not
I
working,
cut like
or like
20
a whole
characters.
plot line. I just keep adding on to mine honestly, and that's why I relate to this
Ooh,
because it's like,
I see.
when is this gonna be too much? We started with 8 and now we're at 25. Like what?
No,
Why are
man,
we here?
literally like, but like for me, I have to consider like production wise, like how long I can make this series. Like are the people in my team going to
Yeah.
stay with me throughout that length, and how long it takes to make an episode in that sense. Like, there are definitely a lot of factors that play into it. Like, how much time do you have to make the story? Like, when do you want to wrap it up? And one of the critiques I had for like episode 2 of my story was actually really interesting. I sent this to like a bunch of my friends before I found Ginger, obviously, and like one of them said that like the way that I showed a character's powers was too vague, and it was through visuals, and I didn't really like explain in the script like through physical narration or dialogue like what that character's powers were, and that viewer had like a bone to pick with it. And then my other friend who read it said that they liked it. They liked that I used show don't tell. Like both of them can't be right. So it's
Yeah.
all ultimately up to you. I I chose to do both in a sense. I You have to understand your audience too, because my audience, I know that a lot of them are pretty young, and it's hard to have a
Yeah.
complex plot without them being able to grasp like knowledge of like history and the world, because I honestly didn't know about world building until like last year when I took world history, AP world history. So I myself understand that like they need to like I need to physically tell them what is happening sometimes. So you gotta like sacrifice some of
Actually,
that complex writing elements.
actually,
Mm,
I think that a lot of people sometimes have like a problem with kind of writers talking down to them or expecting them to be like not understanding what's going on.
mm,
But they actually prefer not getting handed the answer and instead being able to kind of know or know for themselves what is going on. I mean, considering your audience would be like children, I mean, sure, we have to say some things outright, but we if you really care about the story, I'm not saying that you don't, if you do talk or like try to simplify things, if you say everything outright, it might like take away from the experience. And you never know if they actually do or do not get what you were originally trying to say. So, I mean, it depends. It does depend on your audience. If you really believe that they're not going to get something so complex, then it's up to you if you want to dumb it down a little bit. But personally, I'm going to make mine as complicated as fucking possible because I really like want to make it very fascinating,
mm.
and like for people that do
I'm
get it,
so excited
it's
for
going to
your
be fun.
story. Yeah, it's just really sad. Like I would love to make mine like complex in that sense and not have to consider the
Mm,
fact that my viewers are like pretty young. But like since that's like a very important part of my fan base, I have to. I'm kind of like obligated to. But like mine
yeah.
isn't so much that I'm just like telling the whole story. I'm doing a lot of showing. But it's hard. Um
Yeah, my advice to you is just like don't worry about it. Don't be afraid to put some smarter things
yeah,
in
yeah, if you're
there.
not
There
like
could be
me,
basic
if
stuff or like,
yeah, if you're not
but
in
put some smarter stuff.
yeah, definitely do Ginger's advice. I don't know what I'm saying. Like most people aren't in the scenario that I'm in.
Mm.
Yeah, complexity is
So,
really cool. I'm so excited to
yeah,
see
I
your
mean,
story. I
thing
love complex stories. It's just so interesting. It's fascinating.
it's there's like some characters that in my story there's some characters that we like really like in the beginning that end up doing something really questionable and
Twist.
like betray our trust, but like not in the sense that they betray the characters, but they betray our
Yes.
trust. And it's
Yes.
like,
100%.
okay, okay, I don't know how to feel about you anymore. Because later on, they also become to be someone that we need as well, and like they're on our side again, which is like, what am I supposed to feel for this character? I really like that feeling. I'm so excited to make everyone feel that and cry.
I know, like I agree. Like complexity of a character also comes with positive and negative aspects of their personality. There will always be positive and negative aspects of someone's personality.
Yeah,
Like you
morally
have to
gray.
include that. You have to include that in some way, shape, or form in your characters if they're gonna be pretty main, if they're gonna be a side or a main character. Like you can't
Mm-hmm.
just make them like you can't just make them be like not cliche. They have to have some negative aspect to them. It doesn't
You
have
can't put their flaws, be
yeah.
like, oh, they're clumsy. That's it. No, you
No.
have to make them
Yeah.
make bad
For
decisions
real.
that have
For
an
real.
effect on the plot. that they
Yeah.
have to fix or not. I don't know. It depends on them.
That's when I get really invested in the character because like it's relatable. Like nobody is perfect, right? And we make some
Yeah.
shitty mistakes in real life, so show that in your character. Like
Mm-hmm. Make
just
them make mistakes. Come on.
exactly. Like, but they don't have to be like making a mistake so like big that like they become the antagonist. They could just make like they can make
They
a
can
pretty
make
controversial mistake, but like
yeah, a bad judgment
yeah,
might like
agreed.
sacrifice, not sacrifice, but like at the expense of like their friend.
Yes,
Yeah.
bro. Okay,
Yeah.
you hit the nail on the head. That's like one of my characters. It's like the whole idea of like hero vs villain. Heroes, they will sacrifice their friends and loved ones to save the majority, whereas villains will sacrifice the majority to like cherish their loved ones.
Bro, I just wrote about that last night.
Oh my god.
I put like something that was like, okay, this time I won't sacrifice the world. This time I'll sacrifice the world instead of sacrificing you. It's like, wow, okay, that's their like second chance of redemption. Oh my god, bro. Did you read my mind? What the heck? Are we the
I
same
just
person?
it's literally so interesting because nobody like in the end, a lot of people like no a lot of characters, it's hard to like kind of label them as good or evil. The line between good and evil is really blurry, and also that's shown through history, like where like certain historical figures, you can't just say they're good and you can't just say they're evil. They're both.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think
Yeah.
that's why if you want to become a really good writer, take history courses. That will help you a lot. History and English courses. Mwah.
Yep.
Love them.
Yep.
Anyways, yeah, I think that's all we have for the podcast, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we'll end it
Mhm.
for now.
Definitely.
Yeah.